What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, our Monday afternoon show presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. No better time of year for a Muskox flannel, whether you are scraping off your car, shoveling your walk, just wanting to be in warmth and comfort and looking good doing it like I do today. There are very few ways in this world that I look decent. One, I have to be drunk looking at myself in the mirror. Two, I have to be wearing a Muskox. Today I'm wearing a Muskox. I feel good about myself. I look good. I feel good. I am comfortable. Go to gomuskox.com and you can use the promo code HOFF, H-O-F-F, for $15 off your Muskox purchase for Couch and the Rube listeners. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Let's freaking go, man! Let's freaking go!
Go Lions, restore the roar.
What's up, buddy? It's good to see you. It's good to be back.
It's good to see you. I'm glad they let you back in and out of the country, basically.
Barely. I had to be searched every time.
I would search you, too.
Something internationally I have to figure out because they will not let me through. So it was fun.
The metal plate in your head, or
I wish that were it. I think it's my past.
Yeah.
I think when you're in jail at some point in your life, they don't let you across the border or at least give you a hard time about it.
Is there a separate prison stamp on the passport that they see?
Dude, I didn't want any part of the Mexican prison stamp, so I hope not. No, I didn't see any of that.
Okay. Good.
But yeah.
Good.
Anyway, I don't know if I'm jet lagged or whatever, but anyway, good to be here. Let's do a show.
There's so much to get into, and you know, we were off last week, obviously, and so, I mean, I haven't talked to you since you went to the Lions game. Obviously, a second Lions game has happened, and I feel like there was a little bit of karma for you scheduling a Mexico trip last week.
All right, wait, hold on a second. First of all, I know that you're angry about this. I did not schedule this. This was my father-in-law's deal. It was 3 of my in-laws' birthdays, so this was not my trip, by the way. I was invited, thankfully, on the trip, but I wasn't I did not spearhead this thing. You think I wanted to watch that game on the fucking plane yesterday? No, absolutely not. I tried my best to get out of, I was like, can I just fly home Saturday night? It's like, it's my dad's birthday. I'm like, fair enough. Plan B.
No. So here's the thing. No, I would disagree. Like I missed an MSU football game for my grandmother's 100th birthday party, right? Big deal, 100th birthday party. Yeah. Had I've been in your shoes waiting this long for this Lions game, I would have pressed back on the logistics with my aunt and said, look, I know she only turns 100 once.
Yeah.
But this isn't actually the birthday anyway. It's like 4 days later. We can maneuver this around the game. We're going to have to maneuver this around the game.
I'm with you. But as someone that has said some dumb things that I just didn't want to.
Yep.
I just was like, all right, we'll figure it out because T was like not really into that. Leaving early, so
I can see that.
Yeah. So never. I did say it about 50 times on the plane yesterday. I'm like, never again. Never again.
All right. So take me through yesterday.
Yeah.
You are on a plane during the Lions game after a week earlier having this religious experience at the Lions game.
Yeah.
And could you watch it? Did you have a TV on the plane?
Our flight, it boarded at 1, so I had some time. That's their time. So I had 2-hour. The game started when I got on the plane, so I was listening to. By the way, I had to listen to Will Tiemann.
So wait, it started at
earlier
1
for the Michigan State game.
1 Mexico time.
Yes. So no, it's right. The game started at 3, but they're 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So I get on the plane. I figured, you know what I mean? Like, first of all, I got searched again, and I brought some edibles with me, so I was kind of nervous on that shit. But what are we talking about? Oh yeah. So I got on the plane. Sorry, I've done too much cold meds. So I got on the plane. And, of course, to sit down and the blue screen of doom on Delta. First of all, I thought there was going to be no TVs on Delta. You know what I mean? I figured that would be the one flight I would get. But anyway, I had Dan Miller in my ears. I was hearing the game, but the Wi-Fi shit, so it was going in and out. And there's nothing I can do. So panicking really doesn't do much, right? I don't want to be one of those people in those videos freaking out on an airplane. I don't want to do that. But so I look at the blue screen of doom. It says, pardon the disruption. Live satellite TV is currently outside of the coverage area. So we had to wait until we flew over Texas until we could get the game on NBC. So basically, I missed the first half. I mean, I heard a lot of it. I was following along on Twitter. So as soon as, excuse me, the second half was great. It was really, after everything settled down and the game was actually on, and there was Lions fans on the plane. And I mean, in the Mexico airport, there was people yelling, "Let's go Lions." It was just absolutely unbelievable. And I bought every single trinket you can buy that was Lions related. I got another skull. I got a fucking surfboard, a mini surfboard, all sorts of it. Was I can't do this. My voice is dead.
yeah, I can tell. All right, well, I'll ask you a question while you get some water. Figure out the
All right.
So you eventually see the game and or see most of the game. Did you see the replay when you got home? Do you feel good about your experience? No.
We did not get home until 11. Went right to bed, and I've been up and trying to rally for this show because I feel like ass, but.
Okay.
I'll shake it. But yeah, so I did get to see. It was definitely, honestly, going to the Rams game was wild because I flew out the next morning, and we stayed at Ford Field until 12:30 until they kicked us out. Andrew and Monica went to the game. I ended up seeing them. That was awesome from Groovy Donuts. It was fun celebrating with Lions fans. The whole day Sunday was just surreal. It was unbelievable, and Stafford and that whole thing was it was all unbelievable. And then to have two games like this, and we should be playing in the NFC Championship game at home, but the Packers suck.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that it wasn't because if they had lost and you didn't get to see the game, it would have gotten frustrating, and then you would have blamed certainly. You would have been resentful.
I didn't want to think about that.
Resentful towards your family.
But I can't be resentful at my in-laws. I went to Mexico while it was fucking like -5
That's
here.
True. That's true.
So if you offered me the trade,
you'd still take it.
I think so, yeah, because it was really relaxing, beautiful, everything.
Okay.
And this weather's ass, and I despise it. So yes, I probably would have done the same. I mean, I did see the second half.
Even if I enjoyed Mexico as the logistics person in our family, and my wife would have scheduled the same sort of thing, it would have driven me so nuts that logistically this had ever been scheduled. When the possibility of a weekend game conflicting, it would have driven me nuts. I couldn't have enjoyed the trip.
It did drive me nuts, but again, Graham, what can I did. Voice my interest in leaving early, and it was you're going to miss my dad's birthday. So.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, he has a birthday next year. Not turning 100.
I understand. 75.
Yep, 75. 75 happens twice sometimes. All right. Well, let's dig into our hot takes, and then we'll see how the reading goes today for you.
Man,
this could be a mess. We'll have to figure this out.
Maybe you can get an intern to fill in for me.
I'll go first here. I'll give you a chance to recover. Hey, well, okay. That was I was.
By the way, what needs to happen for you, for Michigan State-wise, for you to bring in someone to pinch hit for me? Stephen Izzo made a fucking basket. What's bigger than that? You should have done it. You should have ran over here and done a podcast with someone, whoever you have.
Yeah, by the time I was going to do it, I was going to do like an interview show Wednesday, and we'll do one this week, whether you're healthy enough to do it or not. We'll figure that out. But that was the thing. People asked if we would do a show without the Rube, and
one person asked, I think.
Oh no. I got quite a few questions about it. Not reaching out there on Twitter, but if a big MSU thing happened, we would definitely do it. But you make a difference in our Lions voice. I mean, you are our voice of the Lions. You were the man who was dead inside, who has since been brought back to life.
Thank God for the Lions. I would have no worth here.
My first hot take is a mea culpa on Jared Goff. Not that I think he's great, but I'm open to thinking he's really good. And in a tier of quarterback that gives you a chance that's above a tier of other quarterbacks that are pretty good. Like, there are 7 quarterbacks in football that I would rather have than Jared Goff. And I don't think there's any debate about this. You'd rather have Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, C.J. Stroud looks like he's coming out at a different level, Justin Herbert, and probably Jordan Love looks like his ceiling is going to be higher. So those are the 7. But Aaron Rodgers is 40, and getting weird. Wouldn't do that. Dak Prescott is not built for the playoffs and not better. Stafford's old, and while he's great, and in a moment, if you had to pick, give me one game now, I might pick Stafford. I wouldn't change the quarterback situation. Trevor Lawrence, wouldn't do that. Jalen Hurts even. I don't know that Hurts is in a tier above Jared Goff. Not gonna go there. There are some quarterback situations like the Bears picking one where people are picking early that you might say, would you rather have that? I don't know. But outside of those top 7, the Lions, I think, have maybe the 8th best quarterback, or certainly a top 10 situation at quarterback right now. And it's hard to poo-poo that. My concern is always the idea that you pay somebody who's good, great money, and that's the way the quarterback position has worked. And I think you have to put your foot down on that. And you have to find a way to pay him good money. But ultimately, you can't risk losing this momentum. You can't risk not trying to take advantage of this window, even if there are quarterbacks out there who are going to be tough to beat if they have better teams around them because they're better quarterbacks. Goff, I think, is good enough to win a Super Bowl, and I haven't felt that until these playoffs. Some of the throws he threw yesterday, the second half, touchdown pass.
St. Brown was unreal.
Great. I mean, so, again, going to have to do it outdoors, going to have to do it on the road. Doesn't look like Purdy can handle weather either, so it can be too. I hope it rains in this case. Purdy's even worse than Goff in weather.
I'm about to say, if you have Goff in bad weather, it might as well be in Santa Clara.
Yes.
Right? I mean, let's have it there.
Let's have it back home, and with Purdy, you can't handle it either.
Right.
So, it's a mea culpa on Jared Goff. Mea culpa. I don't think you can risk it.
I think Lions fans were always ready to sign Jared Goff, though. It's just, will both sides, Jared Goff obviously loves the situation he's in. He loves Detroit. If we can get a little bit of a discount so we can throw some money elsewhere, maybe on the defense for next year. But you can't argue that he's not a top 10 quarterback, even before the playoffs happened.
I think you could. I think the playoffs were big because
the NFL is so, the quarterback, man, it falls off.
I didn't put Kirk Cousins in this list, and I think Cousins is in that 12 range. I would take him over Cousins.
But isn't Cousins the same kind of guy, Jared Goff? Excuse me, because he has to have a perfect situation for himself. Like Kirk Cousins in a perfect situation is pretty scary sometimes.
But doing it in the playoffs matters. And this has mattered. And, they don't have to beat – the 49ers are a really good team. They could lose that game. I don't need Jared Goff to beat the 49ers to believe he can get it done. You just want him to go up there and not shit the bed. And that could, could turn things a little bit. These two games, the way he's played in big moments, in moments that change the psyche of a fan base, that have created this spiritual experience, are really important. If he had come out and played poorly against the Rams and they had been one and done in the playoffs, I don't think, I think this still mattered, even though as well as he played in the regular season.
Who are you going to go get, though, if hypothetically they did lose that game?
It's a fair question, but I think the question you have to have for yourself also is, once you determine a quarterback cannot win a Super Bowl, it doesn't matter who else you get, because you don't really have a window. You can have a window to be I'm not sure Kirk Cousins can win a Super Bowl. And you can be what the Vikings have been, and you can be this 9-10 win team, but that's not the goal. And it's worth the risk to go get somebody else if that's your ceiling. I don't think that's the Lions' ceiling with Jared Goff. And that's why I think it changes now. Because you're right. Who else do you get? There is risk in that. But to me, once you determine a quarterback is not somebody you can win a Super Bowl with, it doesn't matter what the risk is. There's no point in being good. Right. The idea is to chase titles and don't waste your – it's just as bad to waste your window with a quarterback who can't get it done as it is to flounder like some other organizations trying to find that guy. They're equals. But I've changed my opinion a little bit on Jared Goff. Obviously, you keep him. How you work that out, I don't know. You can't have it debilitating money, and I think Jared Goff knows that. He knows, unless Jared Goff's a moron, he knows that he's a quarterback who, and I think he likes this situation. Don't price yourself out of a great situation, and so hopefully he won't. Hopefully they're capologists, and we'll figure all that out. What is your first hot take, sir?
I don't know if I should do these or just save my voice for the questions. I don't know what you want me to do.
Give me the hot takes. We'll figure it out. If I have to read some questions, we'll deal with it.
It's talking back with the Rams game. Like, Jared Goff has always said the right things. I think he's trying to emulate what Matt Stafford did. And what bothered me after the game is Stafford. I know this is way before we haven't done a show. Stafford's complaining or being only happy for the players for the Detroit Lions, not the fans because I guess we booed him, or what did he think was going to happen? And his wife, Kelly Stafford, it's like, why are you bringing your kids onto the field? Like, what did you think? I mean, I'm guaranteeing you a lot of people didn't want to boo the kids, but they're booing your ass.
Nobody was booing the kids. They were booing her. They were booing her.
Kids don't even know what getting booed means. They're just like, what is happening? Boo-booey here?
Again, caw would have been good, but if we're going to boo, you know.
But the people I were around were not yelling at any kids or anything like that, but I don't know what my take is. I can't even talk.
All right.
Sorry.
I mean, okay. Give me this. From a man who was dead inside a couple years ago, the level of alive inside you feel
1,000% alive.
Yeah.
More than alive. I felt alive last year when we beat the Bears at home. We didn't make the playoffs, but you could feel the tide turning. Slayed Aaron Rodgers, came into the season just an open mind, started winning games, lost a few here to obviously Baltimore was a better team than us, but I just feel I don't know. This is what you want as a fan of any team, is to be able to watch a team and not have the same old Lions and all that shit. So I don't know. It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. But yeah, how could I be dead inside whatsoever? I've been dying for this, to get to this point. NFC champion. By the way, we should be at home this weekend, but the Packers suck.
All right, Therese comes up to you on
I'm going to the game
on Tuesday and says, flights to Paris Sunday, 6 p.m.
No.
Okay.
No. Absolutely not.
But it's my father-in-law's beginning his 76th year on this earth. Or my father's, her father's.
Right.
And he wants this for us. What do you say?
I'd say I have COVID.
Which you might have.
Right, I might.
So
this
there's
might
that.
Be it. Yeah. But
or something from a Mexican jail cell, whatever you picked up.
This was, like I said, this was planned for months and months. And everybody was invited, significant others and everything. This, whatever trip you're making up,
So I'm going to jump onto my second hot take, okay. MSU basketball related. But I will say is the logistics person in my family, like plan for months and months doesn't cut it. Like I know what dates the NFC Championship games are. I would look at those and say there is a possibility this is a problem, or the NFC divisional playoffs.
Well, I will next year. Now that I see what we can do. I don't know if I was going to do that. Imagine if I was like, there's a possibility that we're going to be in the divisional round, so I can't go.
I got angry. My mother went to a poetry reading in the middle of the Lions game yesterday, and I got angry about it. I got angry. Like, I want to be the person for the Lansing area that handles logistics for all events, because people just don't see this stuff far out. And apparently it was a good turnout. Maybe it's not the same audience. I get that. But, like, it was the idea that was scheduled, and it drove me nuts. Like, you got to see that. It's for years and years and years. You see all these things that are just like, how do you not see that that's an issue?
I couldn't believe the people on the plane that weren't watching the game. I'm like, what are you into then?
Yeah.
Really? You don't like football?
Yeah. It's not cool. All right. Second hot take. Michigan State basketball. What you saw at Maryland should be really, really heartening, because a lot of teams don't have that in their DNA. A lot of Michigan State teams haven't over time. There have been times I didn't think this Michigan State team did. And it's not just that game. It's the number of games that they've trailed in the second half now and picked it up and pulled it out and sometimes pulled away. And they did it on the road this time. And they played a team that struggles to shoot, mind you, although they shot better than they usually do, the Terrapins did. But they had not done that. They had not done it away from home. And they did it in a game where Michigan State played horribly as well for a while. They shot horribly in the second half. And they had played so well, and then things went wrong, and it looked like that was going to be a loss, and Maryland was going to win. And it wasn't a loss because they have a team full of guys who don't really panic in those situations. They have two guards that can get you a bucket when you absolutely need it and don't care about the environment. And I know Maryland's not the most difficult environment. But I think if you are hopeful for this Michigan State basketball team, which I think it's clear at this point, other than the Baylor game, is unlikely to blow teams out for 6 straight games on the way to a national title. I think that's pretty clear at this point. They're not going to have 6 blowouts. If they are going to get things done that make people happy, they are going to win a lot of close games. And I think, and they're going to be in some tense situations, and they're going to be in some adverse situations, and they are an imperfect team that's going to have a bad stretch of basketball, and they're going to have a first half that you go, holy crap, that's a great team. what happened against Maryland is going to happen to Michigan State in the NCAA tournament. And the fact that they won that game, I thought they were really dialed in. I thought they did some great things defensively, the turnovers they created. I think the way they ran, even off made baskets in the first half, is something that the more and more that develops is big for them. But the fact that they won that game, I think, should be heartening and promising that is in their DNA, that's not only something they can draw on, but that's just something I think they knew they had. That's something that's part of this team and we saw it against Indiana State. We saw it against Rutgers. Now, those are home games, but still a team that doesn't get rattled in the middle of the second half when things get a little dicey. And that's how you win big games in March, and that's sometimes what separates teams of equal ability. And Michigan State is going to have a team that's of equal ability overall with most of the really good teams they play because they've got guards that might be better, big men that might be a little less. I just think if that game, for all the way it happened, it wasn't a game where they shot 58% for the whole game because that would be bullshit if that had happened the way they did in the first half. It wasn't a game where everything went perfectly. They had Jaden Akins get hurt. And I think he really, really matters to elevating their athleticism overall, and just more than I think a lot of the second half had to do with that. And I would be careful about rushing him back, even for a big game at Wisconsin. Like, you do not want an ankle to linger less than 100%. Things didn't always go right, and they won the game. I just think that was a really, really promising sign for that team.
How far is Jaxon Kohler away? I didn't see any of the game. I had to listen to Willie Tiemann, but we played 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, he did, and he had one great post move. And I think there's still a point with him, and we'll get into this more in the listener hot takes because there's some Jaxon Kohler stuff out there. But I think it's getting to a point where Izzo trusts him defensively in tense games in the second half. And because what happened at Illinois, you can make the argument that they lost at Illinois because they played Jaxon Kohler. Because the minutes he came in, and it was his first real action, and his heart was racing, you could just sense that it was like it's a different sort of exertion to be on the court for that, and a couple buckets were scored on him. Things didn't go that well, and that was a stretch in a game that was really close that didn't happen. You could argue that's one of the reasons they lost. So I think there's a little of that trust. I think there's a stretch coming up, and I don't know if it's Wisconsin. I think he'll play at Wisconsin. But there's a stretch of games coming up at home where he will be able to get his feet under him a little more, and you'll start to see him more permanently a fixture in things. What is your next hot take if you have?
Let's talk gambling, Graham, because the game's on Sunday. The lines are out, and the Lions opened at 7, 7-point underdog, which I really loved. 6 and a hook now for the Detroit Lions. I think, are we getting a little disrespect because we played 2 home games, and from what maybe just a casual NFL observer would think, oh, they had an easy road. But you got to remember, the Rams were really tough, and the Bucs, no one really wanted to play Tampa Bay either. So we beat both of those teams. I think the 6.5 all day. And I'm just saying, I know I'm a Lions fan, all that. I'm talking about value right here. 6.5 at minus 105 right now.
I see it at 7.
I would snag it.
On the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, and I think it's 7 someplace. It's 6.5 others. I think right now you've got a Lions team that people really want to do well, that's played well at home twice, a 49ers team that didn't play as well. And so you're seeing a little of that. I still think the 49ers are probably more at home, probably more than a touchdown, slightly better than the Lions. I wouldn't touch that line. I wouldn't take it the other way, obviously, but I wouldn't. Yeah. I don't know. I just think 6.
I mean, understand San Fran's at home, but they didn't look great against Green Bay. I just think that we can go in there. Thankfully, there's good weather in San Fran, or better than the alternatives, because I don't know why you play games in these cold weather situations.
Green Bay might be really good. They might be really good.
If they would have beat San Fran, they would have been the scariest one of the 4, right? I mean,
well, and that's the thing.
Going to Dallas and San Fran.
I didn't even know how to really root in that game because, sure, you want the NFC Championship at home. I think overall you'd want that, except losing to the Packers, and that's still the morbid mindset I always have. Losing to the Packers and the Packers going to the Super Bowl would be worse than losing on the road at the 49ers.
I can't disagree with that.
And so I didn't really know how to feel about what was – there's part of me that thinks taking your shot in San Francisco against a team that's sort of viewed as one of the 2 elite teams in the sport this year, and if you do it through them, you've done it. And if you don't, everybody still feels pretty good about things. It was a
I mean, San Fran is minus 285 on the money line. We're getting disrespected here.
Yeah. Let's see the Lions do it. I don't think the Lions.
Believe me, our bend don't break defense drives me insane. But if we can hold them to 24, we can beat them.
The way the Bucs ran against them, I just picture the 49ers, and it's a little concerning.
And Mike Evans, yeah.
All right, my third hot take: MSU hockey covered one of the more interesting sporting events and more entertaining sporting events I've covered in a long time. Michigan State hockey at Michigan on Saturday night, and the whole weekend was interesting. I do think this hockey team has a chance to bring a lot of people joy the rest of the season, but especially this spring, this March, coinciding really with whatever the basketball team's doing. Their tournament starts a week after. They've got a chance to play for a Big Ten title, but there is what they did at Michigan, being down 4-1, getting outshot 30-9 in the second period, through the middle of the second period, and then coming back to win 7-5. And that 10-minute stretch where they just turned it around completely. Now, some of it was sloppy hockey by Michigan, and Michigan's done some things this year. They played beneath their talent level most of the year. They did not for a while in the series with the 7-1 win Friday at Munn, and then early Saturday. But that was so to watch a team do that at a moment that I was sure that they were going to get just blown to smithereens, that it was going to be another disaster, that this was going to be a weekend that dimmed their season. Not that they didn't have they were still going to be near the top of the standings at this point. They were still 2 games left against Michigan, lots of opportunities. But this was going to be a tough thing, I think, to rally back from. And the fact that they did it mid-game, I think, says a lot about Adam Nightingale. It says a lot about that team and the culture and the level of talent that I don't think is perfect, but is at least enough to get it done in college hockey, especially in a single game postseason scenario. It was a lot of fun. There was one snafu, however, Jason. I had a Mitch Albom moment. Sort of. Not really.
Interesting.
I wrote something that didn't happen.
What?
Yeah, not great. I mean, I fixed it pretty quickly. It was right in print. It was right for the majority of the readers. I tweeted the mistake, tweeted about the mistake to try to both quote tweeted and underneath the tweet to try to have some accountability. It was not really my error, though. And this is where it's not a Mitch Albom moment. I was talking to Adam Nightingale after the game, and I think Adam Nightingale tells stories a little bit like my mother. And a lot of people do this. Like, what you saw. You're picturing the moment as it happened. But to people who haven't heard any of it, you're not explaining it fully, and so people can get a little misled. So I have to be careful with that in future follow-up questions. Anyway, he talked about this team meeting they had Saturday morning at Munn before they bust down to Yost that included a conversation with Tom Izzo. And the way he phrased it, because he had talked about the team meeting, I asked him then for details about it. He said, we had a conversation with Tom Izzo, and he talked about this, and this. The way, I went back and listened 100 times. The way it sounded, Tom Izzo had come and spoke to the team. It was as clear as day. I was like, and I think everybody else who heard it thought that. I went back. I'm glad I didn't lead with it. I did tweet with it, but it was at the bottom of the story. Nightingale texted me on Sunday morning after reading it. He's like, I just talked to Izzo on the phone and I relayed his message to the team. Very different situation than team meeting with Tom Izzo. And it was easy enough to massage and fix in the story, and I felt bad. But, man, I am going to have to ask.
But you can technically get away with it, because like a Zoom call or something like that.
Well,
it's still kind of a meeting.
It was, it was
not the worst thing.
No, it was not the worst thing. The spirit still mattered. Izzo cared about hockey enough to, this is what needs to be said, about how to handle this rivalry. And Izzo was talking about how he had screwed up the rivalry early on in his tenure. And Izzo will still talk about this. He hated Michigan so much after what had happened late in the Judd 10 years and some of the cheating that had happened, that he let it impact his coaching, and he got too emotional about things in the first few games against Michigan, and it didn't help his team. And
I'm not talking about Michigan.
He had to get over that. And so, I think that's – and Nightingale's more measured and everything. But anyway, it was I apologize to anybody who had that feeling about that Izzo had actually been there in a team meeting. That's what I was led to believe. I don't think he was trying to mislead me, because he was obviously knew he was on the record. He knew it might be written. I think he just pictured something in his head and did not explain it. And the way he explained it would lead any sane person to think that Izzo had been there in a team meeting. But from now on, I will know to ask more detailed follow-up questions of Sir Nightingale.
My bonus is I was really happy for Stephen Izzo. Like, I did not know how much that meant to him to actually score a bucket, and to see the interviews after. He's like holding the basketball and he's like kind of tearing up a little bit. It couldn't happen to a better kid, man. It was just, I couldn't believe I missed it, though. The one game I don't watch on TV for Michigan State, Stephen Izzo does a little crossover, and that was so
Mexico,
awesome.
Man. It just gets in the way of everything.
Dude, I'm telling you, I wouldn't have went if I was able. You know, it's my father-in-law's thing. So
it was a pretty cool moment, and to see, like, I went back and I kept watching the video of it, and there were some funny ones like put to Titanic theme music and all that stuff. Yeah. To see, like, it's not just how much his teammates, and this is what got Izzo emotional, how much his teammates cared and want this for him, and to see Tyson Walker, who sometimes comes across as, aloof is the wrong word, but you wouldn't think Tyson Walker is the first person to have that emotion in that moment and to come over and lift up Stephen Izzo and Hogar to be there and to see the shit in real time as Stephen Izzo is doing the crossover move. Look at Jay Nakin's shoulders. He does this like, whoo, like shimmy, like, oh my gosh, look at that move. Like, it's just this basketball appreciation moment. It was fun to see them care. The shot went in. It just is perfect as it could have been in a lot of ways. Gets it out of the way for the rest of the season. Certainly, it's not something that there's pressure on him for. The MSU handled it well with the number 3, like a Wilt Chamberlain had the number 100 in that picture after he scored 100 points, and Michigan State had Stephen hold up a 3. He was great, and talked to him with just me and Kyle Austin from M Live in a 10-minute conversation with him before everybody else got down there, and got some really good detail, and a lot of people read it. You could tell people cared because it is my most read story of the month by a ways, soon to be seconded by maybe MSU hockey. That's how much people cared about that Michigan game. That was a really, for a subscriber story, is done insanely well, and glad to see people care about it that much. And Stephen Izzo, actually, you talk about good kid, went out of his way to thank me for what I wrote. Not that matters.
Uh-oh. Grandma's forever a Stephen Izzo fan.
No, I wrote that piece last year where I sat down with him an hour. I like the kid. I like the kid a lot. He's a good. I think he's a good dude. I think he cares about people.
Sure.
And I think that's a cool thing. I think that's genuine. And he was, I think as a teenager and as early teens and middle schooler, I think he was a little punk sometimes, but everybody grows out of that. I mean,
aren't we all?
Yeah, I mean, your federal theft with mailboxes and stuff like that is well documented on this show,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, I got away with it.
Yeah, I mean,
we were all young at one point. We all say dumb shit.
We should check the statute of limitations on that before we actually talk about it here. Are you in a voice place where you are ready to try to read?
I hope so.
All right,
try it.
Let's move on to these listener hot takes.
All right, Eric Schultz up first. There is no realistic option where the Lions don't pay Jared Goff. He's been largely elite for 1.5 seasons and has 2 playoff wins. Should they give him Mahomes money? Of course not. But at this point, to act like there's any other option is ludicrous.
Yeah, I'm getting there, Eric. I really am, and I've been there. I know a lot of people who wrote in, and we didn't do all the Jared Goff hot takes, but are a little annoyed with my anti-Goffness, as it sounds. And it's just I grew up an Elway fan. I love the big arm. I love the quarterback can carry a team, and that's always who I want the Lions to aspire to get. And that's not who Jared Goff is something I've had to come to terms with. And I think you're right, but the money is key, right? I mean, because the problem at the quarterback position is it has just been this who gets paid next mentality, not based on if you're truly one of the top 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there are 7 dudes right now, and we'll see about Jordan Love. And obviously Stroud looks like really, really promising. So maybe 6 who's proven it, but 7 guys who right now look like they can elevate a team. And Jared Goff, when things are around him, I should say he does elevate a team in the sense that, I mean, that pass in the fourth quarter. I mean, the pass the week before he had a big third down pass, 2 straight weeks that were really, really important. So I'm not going to – I mean, he does elevate a team in that sense, and so I need to be careful on that. And
he's a perfect quarterback for what we're trying to do, right? I just think that you can pay him $40 million for I don't know how many year extension, right? If we're getting to the NFC Championship game with him, but you can't deny that he at times, since he's been in Detroit, since we traded for Stafford for him, he hasn't been great. That's why you get criticism.
You're going to have to keep drafting offensive linemen over defense at times, and you're going to have to deal with that as long as you're your quarterback. And every time you've got to pay an offensive lineman, you're going to have to go to Jared Goff and restructure his deal. But if those two things everybody's okay with, then you go ahead and you go forward. And I think at this point you have to.
Mojo Jojo up next. This Lions win is for all the fans across generations that had to watch a team they loved suck win for decades. Thinking of my grandpa, a diehard fan, went to the championship in 1957 when he was 13 years old, who passed in 2022. He would have loved this team and season as all of us do.
It is cool for that stuff. There are some great stories that have been highlighted.
It's not cool for his grandpa.
Well, obviously,
died in 2022.
Just missed it. Right. Not great. But, but it
sounds like something that happened to me.
It would happen to you,
Super
right?
Bowl, I died.
Yeah. It's got some Cubs to it in the way that those fans had waited for all that time before 2016. Now the Cubs had more. They had postseason heartbreak, but they'd gotten to the postseason more. But you hear a lot of that. People whose fathers helped build the Ford Field or used to be season ticket holders at the Silverdome, and just people who share this. Look, I went through this with my own dad in the sense that when I was a teenager, Spartan Stadium for us, that season ticket he got from me was something that was really meaningful. We were not a season ticket family growing up. We went to a Lions game a year. We went to an MSU football game when there were tickets available, probably an average of one a year. But when he did that, it was like blew my mind out of this world. And then we had those moments for several years before I moved away. Every Saturday afternoon shared experience, really cool. And when the Rose Bowl happened, he had always talked about, if Michigan State makes the Rose Bowl, we'll all go. And, I had been long since not a teenage fan or anything, but those words had stuck. And when prices looked expensive and he had said, I don't know if we're going to do this, looks a little bit like a pain, my sister, who doesn't care at all, spoke up. And she was like, bullshit. You've talked about this for, 20 years. And so you're going to go. And we're all going to go. And they all met me out there, and it was kind of fun to have that shared family experience. And I feel good for Lions fans, and for people who are, look, I once threw a chair. 1993 Labor Day weekend, Lions lose to the Bears, left too much time on the clock when they scored, like a minute 12 left. I threw a dining room chair. Didn't go well for me at 13 years old. Had lost to Gus Macker's game earlier in the day. Was not in a good place. I've been a part of this like most people have. I've seen some things, and I feel good for everybody.
New year, new volleyball, Dad, next. Everyone's favorite Spartan player is Cohen Carr. Is it safe to say Tre is our second favorite? This, of course, isn't applicable to Graham. He is the internet's most devious Cohen Carr denier.
I'm not a Cohen Carr denier. I was
since the beginning.
No. So it was before he played at MSU. I wanted to see what he could do. Like it was. I'm not somebody who is going to watch YouTube dunks and go, or even Moneyball dunks and go, that is a guy who is going to do big things on the court. I have the Doug Anderson experience in my life, and I mentioned him before. Played at Mott Community College, played at Kalamazoo Central, then played at U of D. A dunker at Cohen Carr's level, at Jason Richardson's level, and people who know him know that. But he was an average mid-major player with not a great motor. His best year at U of D might have been like 10.5 points a game. And what I mean by that is like it taught me really quickly that the most spectacular players are not always the best players. So I was just waiting for that. I think Cohen Carr is incredibly important for MSU. He changes who they are athletically. He's starting to see things pretty well. His help defense has gotten better and better and better. And I think he ought to play more and more and more. Now, I don't mean like 25 minutes and bench Malik Hall, who's been playing really well. But these 9-minute games, 10-minute, he ought to be a guy who's in that 14, 15-minute range, because I do think athletically he gives MSU something that they just don't have otherwise.
Clocked in Spartan next. In what world does no Jaxon Kohler make sense? If 0 points and 4 points in 27 minutes is the bar set by Mady Sissoko and Carson Cooper, even Kohler's vertical can clear that bar. If you say it's his defense, it's not like the other bigs don't get scored on at will. And Kohler's defense was solid Sunday. What's your take?
And there were a lot of Kohler takes that I didn't include because, I didn't want to just keep doing Kohler here. Two things. One, I didn't actually answer New Year, New Volleyball Dad's question. I apologize. Is Tre Holloman the second favorite? I think he's becoming a fan favorite because he's unassuming. He stuck around. I'm going to do a piece on him soon here. But he is he's just a really nice kid who's developed into an important player despite not being the hyped guy. And I think he's appreciated, and he's an easy guy to like. To the Jaxon Kohler question, I think what you saw from Kohler in that brief stint is absolutely something he can bring. Like that's an important move. And I don't even think he makes that move a year ago. He would try it, but it didn't work. He often missed that shot. He's got a lot to give. I think he would have had a pretty good year. To what extent, when will we start seeing it more frequently? When does he start getting 10 minutes a game? Because I think that's like impact minutes, couple stints each half, or at least, a stint each half. Let me pull up the MSU basketball schedule real quick. All right, so they play at Wisconsin on Friday. That's going to be an interesting game. We'll see if Akins is 100%. Different matchup that obviously went poorly at Breslin in part because Malik Hall was sick. I don't think that's a bad matchup for Kohler, but really difficult game. Michigan at home, then Maryland at home. Now Maryland's got good bigs, but I think Kohler's fine there. At Minnesota, and we saw Minnesota's a better team than I imagined, but that's a game you ought to win. Illinois at home, there's some decent games. Penn State at home, Michigan on the road. There are enough games in there. Iowa at home that there's an opportunity. He ought to become a 10-minute-a-game player. And if Mady and Cooper are even 15, because of what Kohler provides that's different, and I do think he can elevate them. I think he can elevate the guys around him. I think he gives them something else. He's got to, be okay on the defensive end, but he had a really nice block. He had a couple moments. And I don't think what Sissoko and Cooper give is always so great. They both have had moments, too, that you can't. Like if you had one of those guys, if you had Mady Sissoko's offensive game, but he was providing like what the best of who's the guy who plays for the Grizzlies? Why am I blanking?
Aloysius Anaganye.
Fuck you, man. Jesus Christ. Hold on. This is the worst.
Jaren Jackson.
No, not Jaren Jackson. The other guy. Hey, this is bad.
Desmond Bain.
I think
John Morant.
I think I may be dying. Because I like little things I used to remember. I forgot the other day.
Bobby Hurley.
I forgot the other Xavier Tillman. Oh my God,
yeah.
That's the worst. That's the worst. We'll fix that in post maybe for real because people are going to get worried about me. I got to the door at the side of the house and I couldn't remember the door code. I mean, it's not good. I don't know. It's
9999.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. So anyway, I do think you'll start to see him more and more and more. But if he was Xavier Tillman, if you had a combination of Xavier Tillman defensively and a guy who was like Mady Sissoko offensively, you still would say, well, the defense is just so good. But it's not always. And so I think there's definitely room for Jaxon Kohler, and he needs to be a big part of things. I apologize for getting Xavier Tillman.
David Jackson next. I did not grow up a Lions fan, as I lived in Virginia as a preschooler and started out a Redskins fan. But I'm happy as fuck for the Couch and the Rube listeners who are so excited. I am hereby announcing that I am no longer a bandwagon jumper. I'm now all in on the Lions franchise. And bonus, you can say it's my imagination, but aside from Tre Holloman, all guards are doing far worse at preventing dribble penetration than they did last year.
Okay, well, I don't know. I mean, Maryland's a tough team in that because they do get in. Teams that don't shoot well, that's how they live. So you're going to watch a game against Penn State and Rutgers and Maryland, and you're going to go, and Jameer Young is really good at that, and you're going to go, boy, those teams get in the lane. because they have to get in the lane, and that's what their guards do. That's why they're Division I players and Big Ten players. I don't know that to be true. But Holloman is upped his game defensively, and I think that's been, he was great at the end of that game. Obviously, we'll get into this, but is it okay to be? I think there's plenty of room on the Lions bandwagon.
Oh yeah, it's fine. If you want to jump back on, it's all good.
Yeah,
you don't have to announce it
to be all in.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are happy. Yeah, I was happy for Cubs fans in 2016. I had a lot of Cubs fans in my life, and I remember my buddy Scott Powers after the Cubs lost in 2003. We were living in Freeport, Illinois, and we were hanging out at each other's houses and stuff like that after deadline, and he just sat in a corner after that, and it was hooded sweatshirt over his head, nursing a beer. It happened for like 2 or 3 days. He didn't really speak, and I was worried about him. And so when those sort of people, the people who really care, I would be worried about you in certain Lion situations. And
I wouldn't anymore.
No,
nah,
you're able to turn it
out. I have
enough
MGs going through that I can. For sure, if the day of a loss and I don't watch Sports Center or whatever the next day or pay attention to sport, after that, it's like you got to move on, right?
If you can, some people can, some people can't. But yeah, it's good that you can.
Zach Hulleberger next. Sophomore Tre Holloman would start over sophomore Cassius Winston.
It's a really good hot take. And I think you might be right because, first of all, Tum Tum Nairn started over Cassius Winston and sometimes played over him in key moments because Cassius defensively was such a struggle bus, and he was still, if you look at the numbers, like the most efficient guy in college basketball offensively. They underplayed him that year. They should have played him more. The ball should have gone through him and less through Miles Bridges, less through Tum Tum Nairn. They didn't do it. That was one of the mistakes of that 2017-18 season by Izzo and by Michigan State. Holloman is a better player than Nairn, obviously. He's a better shooter. Nairn was a really good defender, but Holloman's become a very good defender. And if Holloman, what's interesting is the way Izzo works in terms of pecking order and years. And if Holloman was a senior and playing like he is now, he definitely would start over Cassius Winston. If they were both sophomores, it would have been interesting to watch. I'm not sure that would have happened because sometimes it seems to lean the other way where the bigger recruit sort of, I don't know. That's a really good take, though. It would have been an interesting discussion.
Oh, company man next. The growth of a kid like Tre Holloman over 4 years will be proof Izzo's loyalty to high school recruits can win today. A Tre and Fears backcourt will be a defensive juggernaut, ending in a Final Four in 2026. And bonus, the Lions have done more for male emotional expression in Michigan than therapy ever has in 8 days.
I think there's something to this. It's people.
You mean people are going to be nicer now that the Lions are winning?
Well, they just tell people how they feel. They share emotions. They cry. Like, did you have you shared a tear? Like, did you and Jordan hug emotionally after
after the Rams game? Yeah, we high-fived and hugged and looked at the field and shit. I did not cry. I definitely would tell you guys if I did. Kind of teared up on the plane last night with everybody being excited, and it was really just a surreal. I've never watched a game especially a significant game on a plane like that. So it was just, but yeah. I can understand people getting emotional, man. It's crazy.
No, for sure. And to Company Man's first point on the idea that the loyalty to high school recruits can win in Holloman Fears backcourt like that, yeah. And obviously you're bringing in, they got a couple freshmen they're high on too, but we've seen what it means to be a freshman. I do think Holloman is, and I've thought this for a while, that he was an incredibly important piece for Michigan State moving forward if he stuck around as an upperclassman, which he obviously looks like he's going to do. And his ceiling is just, I think, a little higher than I thought. And I think you got to have those guys. And number one, he was a 4-star kid. Like, it wasn't like he was just some, shit recruit who's, developed out of nothing. But he wasn't some plan. This wasn't Tum Tum Nairn as a recruit, right? This wasn't like the plan C. They wanted him. They liked him. They liked a lot about him. And he's developing about like they thought. And he's a smart kid. The fact that he understood last year as a freshman that if I just play solidly, and I'm not going to do a lot extra, but if I don't make mistakes, I can have a role as a backup point guard as a true freshman, playing 10, 12 minutes a game, and he did. Late in the year, they obviously used Tyson Walker a lot more, and especially in critical situations, as the backup point guard. But And then Holloman this offseason really worked on his shot. He knew he was going to play next to Fears. And then Fears gets shot, and he's got to go between the 1 and the 2. And for the story I'm working on him, I talked to Thomas Kelly about this, who's worked with Holloman a lot and is assistant coach on Michigan State's team. And, Kelly had to do that at Michigan State. He was a point guard his whole life, went back and forth. Cleve shows up. He was a scoring guard, and just sort of the mindset of being able to do both in a given game and where that's difficult and where it's not. And Holloman's just he's been absolutely fantastic at it.
To Uper next. I hope we see a lot more Jaxon Kohler, but someone on the team needs to talk to him about his haircut situation. The faux hawk isn't working, especially with that baby face.
Are you a fan of the faux hawk?
I mean, it just reminds me of like the late 80s, early 90s when my dad had one. But, I mean, if the kids are digging it, go for it.
I do think it's one of those haircuts that you regret in pictures 20 years from now.
Oh, totally.
And so if you're going to do something significant, like don't have that when you win a national title. I guess people look at it fondly. But if it's a picture that's going to go on the wall for like 20 years, if it's a significant moment, because, God, I just think of I think of lots of kids at certain ages who had haircuts that you go, man, it was such a trashy haircut for a certain.
Well, it's like Cam Smith, the golfer who won he's won a couple of majors or whatever. But yeah, he has like the rat tail with a wispy mustache. I'm like, that dude's going to regret that in like 15 years.
What's your worst haircut regret or worst look you ever had? Other than
like frosted tips. I mean, I did all that stuff.
You had frosted tips?
Oh, yeah.
What years did you have frosted tips?
My stepmom she's a hairdresser, so she hooked me up. I did it one time. Certain things are just not meant for you. Like frosted tips are one, and a mullet. Like if I put that mullet on, it just doesn't fit me, right? So I did it one time.
Did it go well at school?
I mean, I didn't get laid.
But
That's what you mean?
That wasn't different.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
It was not.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody cared.
Yeah, no. The worst one I had, I went with a Chris Mullen buzz cut. And, I've got kind of even in 8th grade, had a big head. And it just sort of accentuated.
I think that's like a bet we could do. If you lose, you have to get the Chris Mullen haircut. Yeah.
It's because I didn't even know. This is how, I grew up in I didn't grow up in Okemos, man. Like I grew up knowing, like I didn't know what basketball players' haircuts looked like other than Chris Mullen or white guys because I'd never seen one. Like my Macker team, we all got haircuts. Those guys all got like Fab Five haircuts, like Jalen Rose and Chris Webber and everything. And I needed a haircut like a basketball player. So I took Chris Mullen's basketball card into the guy who did my hair at Frandor, Tony, at the old Frandor Barbers, downstairs in the old Frandor. Said, this is what I want. And he pulled it off, and then I got
But the mullet is pretty much like a cop cut. That's how the cops get their haircut. Like,
they do mullets?
No, not mullets, but Chris Mullen didn't have a mullet. I'm talking about the Chris Mullen. You said you had to take a picture.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the cop cut. It's all it was.
These guys in Frandor probably know.
That's a story not worth telling, but told anyway. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue. Come enjoy Trivia Tuesdays at Midtown Brewing Company, 7 p.m. each Tuesday. Put a team together. Test your knowledge base. If you're putting a trivia team together, my advice, if you're older, get a couple younger people. If you're younger, get somebody who's older in your group. Generations matter. Decades of knowledge matter. It's a sweet operation they have there. An unbelievable menu. Great place to hang. Great way and reason to check out their beer selection and menu. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check out more, or you can check them out on Facebook as well. Trivia Tuesday starting 7 p.m. every Tuesday at Midtown Brewing Company.
Rich, Searing next. MSU basketball has 2 centers on the roster next year in Cooper and Kohler, though Kohler seems a little small to be considered a center. We haven't seen Izzo look for another one in the portal, and all recruiting for. I can't do it.
I'll take this one, and then we'll take a quick break. We haven't seen Izzo look for another one in the portal, and all the recruiting information I'm finding doesn't show him trying to recruit another center. We have lots more guards and wings being offered, but no big guy down low. We all know that the center position this year is our Achilles heel, and yet there are no signs that Izzo is trying to fix it. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you too, Rich. Couple things. One, Madi Sissoko is not necessarily done. He and A.J. Hogarth are the 2 last guys of the COVID year extra class possibilities. And given, Sissoko's ability and also just sort of how much this has become home for him, I would not be surprised if he wants to stick around. I don't know what those discussions will be. So that you may have Mady Sissoko back. Now, I don't know if there's any more steps for him in terms of getting better or whatnot. But so there is that just to consider. I also would point this out. If you're going to pick up a center in the transfer portal, and they may not have made that decision yet based on where Cooper and Kohler are at the end of the year. And obviously Kohler's injury sort of, you got to get a longer evaluation on him if you can. Those decisions aren't sometimes made till late, and who's available isn't understood till late. Those guys don't come available till after the season. And so if that's a decision that they want to do after the year, you wouldn't know it now. So the idea that a big man center was going to come in and really contribute right away, I don't know that that's there. So Sissoko could be back, number one. Number two, if they are going to pick up somebody in the transfer portal at the center position, you wouldn't know it now, and that player wouldn't even be available yet now. So I would just, a couple things to absolutely think about. We'll take a really quick break. We come back, more of your hot takes. Couch and the Rube, our Monday show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels.
Firekeeper's Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch and the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com, where Couch and the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Christmas is almost here, and jewelry is for sure on your list. But where will you go for that very special gift? I'm Katrine Medawar, and we at Medawar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage have filled our stores with gorgeous pieces of jewelry just in time for the holiday season. Diamond rings, diamond necklaces, bracelets, earrings, watches. We have a huge selection of the latest designs of engagement rings. And if you want your ring custom designed, then we do it all in-house, exquisitely created by our master jeweler. If a lab-created diamond is on your mind, then come in today and we'll show you the largest selection of the highest quality lab diamonds in mid-Michigan. So, what to buy this Christmas? Come to Medawar Jewelers. We have you covered.
Medawar Jewelers.
Find Couch and the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch and the Rube, our Monday show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. You can go to GoMuskox.com, check out their full offering. Some great, the checkered blue flannel, the grand flannel moss green. There are a lot of flannels that I think I would look good at, that I actually have the moss green one already. Go there. You can picture yourself in a flannel, and then I'm telling you right now, you will love the comfort, you'll love the durability, you'll love the feel, and you'll love the look. If you're a hideous male like I am, you will all of a sudden look like a flannel model when you put on a muskox. Go muskox.com, and again, Hoff, Hoff, for $15 off your flannel purchase for Couch and the Rube listeners. Let's dig back into these hot takes. I'm going to read one here because it was a late submission from our friend Andrew Gauthier. Dan Campbell can cement his legacy of best Lions coach in the last 60 years if he takes this squad to the Super Bowl. He represents Detroit so well. And bonus, if the Lions had a cornerback one or bookend defensive end to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, this defense would be dominant. Two good ones to get into you with. First of all, does Dan Campbell have to win the next game to be thought of as the best Lions coach in the last 60 years?
No, because, I mean, he doesn't have to do anything at all anymore. I mean, like, you get to the NFC Championship game in year 3, everybody tells you these rebuilds take 5 to 7 years or some bullshit, and they did it in 3. So I don't think Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, hell, even Sheila Ford Hamp, everybody's good now. Even Rod Wood. I'd be happy to see Rod. Well, not that. But, Rod Wood's there. So,
I mean, Wayne Fontes did it in 2 years and 5 games.
Kiss my ass. That's too long ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we're talking last 60. I mean,
yeah.
And Fontes had some other good runs. Yeah, Campbell, the fit, everything that they've been through lately, and the fact that they've done it in the free agency era after all, I
think
what
Campbell's been through with being labeled like an idiot and all this stuff, that he's incompetent, he's just a dude, bro, or whatever. And it's just, I don't know. I love the guy. I hope one day I get to hug Dan Campbell.
Yeah, I think
that'd be awesome.
I think he's there. And look, there's no doubt this is not a complete roster, and that's why the window, I think, is just starting. There's more room to go.
Sutton's so bad, though. Like, some of those corners we have, it's just like, holy hell.
Yeah, they're gonna have to work on it in the draft.
Yeah,
but
and don't break, baby.
Yeah, but you also have to keep drafting offensive linemen like every first round for as long as Jared Goff's your quarterback. Just reminding you.
Alan Pearlstein next. Excuse me. The forced extinction of the ticket stub in sports and entertainment industries has eliminated one of the best souvenirs of their events.
I do miss the ticket stub. I mean, it's also eliminated some clutter at houses, but
that's the tweet of the day, though. It does suck. I would have loved to have had a ticket from that game, from the Rams game.
And I still feel like at big games they ought to do it. You know what I mean? Like, you ought to do it in games where people are going to want a memento, a Super Bowl, a big Lions, a moment game. You ought to find. Now, I know it saves a lot of money. Doesn't really get passed on. Doesn't get passed on to the consumer. I mean, if you're saving all that paper, but it is something that's a shame that's gone by the wayside.
C-Dub 91. Sports media members should not be allowed to openly root for teams they cover. Bonus. If my street isn't plowed within 48 hours of a snowfall above 4 inches, I should be allowed to fine the city or county. Use my tax dollars, damn it.
You should have some expectations that they should have to meet, especially if they're going to ticket you when your car is parked on the road quickly. The other way it should work. Sports media members should not be allowed to openly root for the teams they cover. Yeah, no, there's no.
Who's that?
Well, but and I don't know. I mean, I guess there's some Lions stuff probably going on right now. And I get that you see this in Indianapolis with Greg Doyle. You see it. There are when you are a columnist in a market like Detroit, and it's and the team does something that sort of galvanizes the city. You're writing to that audience, and you're not writing hit pieces. You shouldn't be writing like
Los.
Yeah, this is overrated. This isn't that big a deal. It's not. It is a huge deal, and so there can be. I think there can be levels of optimism of meeting fans where they are, but it shouldn't be a cheering. And it certainly if you're independent media. Now there's lots of media that isn't independent. If you work for GoLions.com, Restore the Roar too, RestoreTheRoar.net, or whatever it is, that's who you are, and whether you credential those people. There are people like that in the Michigan State space, and they're not hiding it. It's who they are. They're part of the fan base.
And some people want to hear that. They want to hear some homer shit come out of people, and that's fine because you have the other guys that are the writers that write for the Lions. They do the normal stuff, and it's okay to have a couple of guys that are not raw.
There are people pumped up Mel Tucker to no end, and then when he was fired, ripped him, and now they pump up Jonathan Smith, and that's just what they do. Now you can't use their stuff as any sort of analysis because they're either an extension of the team or they root for the team to such a degree that it's just
like, what would you rather read, an article from Pride of Detroit or Carlos Monarrez? I'd rather read the Pride of Detroit.
Well, and it depends on the person, but I would rather read an independent column. But, because it's just, now it depends on the writer in all those situations. You can build a brand as somebody who works for one of those organizations that's somebody that's an independent thinker, that can be a little bit critical.
Yeah. If you can go both ways, if you show me that you can be a little critical of play sometimes, I don't mind if you're a homer. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Dang it, Notorious Rapper next.
No, dang it, Bobby.
Oh, shit. This MSU basketball team still has a chance at a nice seed. They have a great shot at winning at least 9 out of 12 of their remaining games and have opportunities for another signature win. Bonus. It's excessive, but the home urinal is always a pleasant surprise when visiting a man cave bathroom.
I do. I mean, a home trough would be even better, but a home urinal is...
Damn, who's Dang It Bobby hanging out with?
That's cool stuff, yeah.
Who's got a urinal?
I asked my wife about that idea. It went, it didn't go well.
Don't you have 2 bathrooms?
Right, but she still wants the other one to be a functioning full bathroom. Like, it's not like my man cave bathroom just because it's the downstairs bathroom and I use it mostly, She did make a comment about it the other day that I didn't appreciate, but that sort of happens. The MSU basketball still has a chance at a nice seed. They have a great shot at winning at least 9 out of their 12 remaining games and have opportunities in another signature win. They do. I mean, that's where the Wisconsin game is important. Obviously Purdue would be enormous at the end. There are a number of games that don't help you so much in the metrics. Now, some of them are on the road, so they will. But their metrics are fine. They played a tough enough schedule. The metrics love them more than the wins. At this point, they just need wins. And even if the metrics slip a little bit, they'll be okay. I still think I would still, if I had to bet today what they will be, if you said you have to put all your money on one seed, like a roulette board, right? I would say 6. That would be if I had to put all my money somewhere. I still think they could get to a 5, even a 4 with a really nice run. And obviously they could slide below that. But if I had to put all my money on something, I'd say a 6. And you don't want to be below that because you don't want to face a team that's too good too early. So if you can get a 6 and then a 3, if you can avoid playing a 1 seed till the Sweet 16 until you get to that second weekend, that's always ideal.
Notorious Rapper. I'll take Penea Sewell and Taylor Decker and this Lions O-line versus Bosa and Young and the San Fran D-line any day. Bonus, MSU's campuses will be named after Nightingale after all is said and done.
I do have to say, this has been a positive a sign for the hockey program, and not just the winning, but the interest. MSU hockey had to take a big step that they have taken. There was a long time where if they lost a game, like the only way you could write a negative column about MSU hockey was sort of a big picture, where's the program, why are they losing? But if they just lost a game and you wrote about it, nobody wanted to read it. There was an apathy. There was a frustration. And even a year ago, as there was sort of this initial rise, people weren't bought into that point. And to become a serious sport on campus, you have to be able to be written about the way we write about football and men's basketball, where if they lose, sometimes there's frustration, sometimes anger. Certainly there's still interest. People are still invested. And they are now with MSU hockey. The story I wrote, they lose 7-1 on Friday night to Michigan. This game that's been hyped up, they play awful. They play the worst game they played all season. They were too hyped. They didn't handle it well. They got their emotions get the best of them. And that story got read insanely well. We made the decision not to go to Maryland this week, not to send me to cover that basketball game, to cover both the hockey games. Total right decision. The number of readers we had on those 2 stories outdid anything I would have done in basketball, which is a really good sign, especially the losing story. Because when they beat Michigan 7-5 in an epic win, everybody can get behind that. Those stories would have done not as well as this, but and I talk things in terms of like readership numbers, but that is important because that's been the question for us for a long time with hockey. People would say it's the hottest ticket in town. And that's great that everybody shows up, but if nobody really reads about it, it's really not. People want the experience, but they're not as into the team as you think. And this is, I think this weekend was really important for how we cover the team, how we've been waiting to see if this sort of thing would materialize. Now it is Michigan, and it won't always be quite this, but it was, as we try to figure out how to cover the team, how to travel with the team, how to deal with stuff like that, it was a really important weekend for MSU hockey.
JD next. Goff deserves to be paid. He's not the sexiest QB out there, but we can't let great can't let great be the enemy of good. Gritty, awesome wins the last 2 weeks. And bonus, the Maryland game will be the turning point for this MSU basketball team. Big run incoming.
Yeah. You're right. You can't let great be the enemy of good. You also can't pay good great money. And so as long as you can find that balance, you have to you do it for absolutely sure.
Danielle Needy. Listening to Graham's classic and horrible Goff take for 3 years and has been frustrating and ass. Can we spend an entire episode roasting Couch for his unacceptable behavior and godforsaken takes? Bonus. Both away teams win next Saturday. Next Sunday.
Kansas City, Lions. I
don't see it. I don't see Kansas City.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Although they're playing a little better. I don't.
But Baltimore is so tough.
Yeah. And I have had lots of. In fact, somebody yesterday, I think it was Pookie Bear, a listener of ours, wrote that something I said was the worst take he'd ever seen. And I just disagreed. I've had lots of worst takes. So yes, and look, my Goff take has been repeated enough that I get it's annoying, and so I'm going to try to.
That's your only take that's repeated?
Well, it's not. Oh, that's my only take that is repeated. No, I repeat a lot of takes.
Oh yeah.
Just imagine being married to me. I mean, can you? I
can't.
There are times I tell a story and my wife just looks at me like, "Yeah, we've done this. We've been there."
Green Machine. The Lions' offensive line is 100% responsible for the success of this team. Goff having all day to throw against a team that blitzes like Tampa is an outstanding job by the big men up front. Pancakes for dinner. Bonus. MSU and the Lions winning save me. Not one parlay hit. Broke as fuck.
Yeah, sometimes the gambling doesn't, coincide with the your teams. I had.
But you said it saved you. So how are you broke as fuck? Did you break even or?
When we have Harry on later this week, his partner in crime, cousin Sal, he had he's 1 for 9 in the playoff, 1 and 9 in the playoffs this far.
Wow.
I mean, he's won some, I think, props that have hit, that were, and things like that. But he's had just a horrible run. The NFL playoffs are tough to some degree. You can picture, you knew Buffalo, Kansas City was going to be close, and so you can throw those in teasers and things like that. And the Lions were a good teaser bet, so there are bets to be had. But it's
But if you don't get the number early and you wait till the day of the game, it's really tough to.
Well, and sometimes, and like a week ago when the game was moved by the way, if the Lions game, when you schedule this Mexico trip, it's still bothering me. The Lions, what if the Lions had been the Monday night game and you were playing?
Dude, I didn't want to think about that. I understand.
The logistics are pissing me off more and more as I think about it.
Listen. I don't want to know what would have transpired if that game were Monday. Believe me, I thought about it and we're waiting. It was kind of like watching March Madness selection show for the fucking NFL playoffs. Because I was sitting there like, oh, God, please be Saturday. I want it Saturday, but anyway.
I'm going to handle your family's logistics.
I don't want to, yeah. They don't care about the Lions, my in-laws, If I did it, there would be no way.
Yeah.
No way. Professor. Frank Ragnow is the toughest guy in the league. Plays every game on one foot. Then plays a half with one knee. Sounds like grit to me. And bonus, I was blown away by the way Jason's tweet from last week with the glow glasses and 120 mg tag emasculated my lowly 30 mg ass. Well, it wasn't at one time, Professor. It was throughout the day up until that point is how much I took. Because I did bring way too many gummies. And no one else was really taking them, so...
Are you talking about Mexico or the Lions?
Mexico. Yeah.
And they didn't search you for that stuff.
I was searched each time, but I had it in my probiotics.
Okay.
And my melatonin thing.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Really.
But I will say, when we got on the plane yesterday, I was a little nervous because someone walked with me because I did bring some. I was going to throw them out, right? Or I gave them to my father-in-law. And then, oh, fuck it. I can't tell the story. Anyway.
That is a story that would have been worth telling. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company.
Oh, this is terrible.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah.
Sorry.
We do have a cough button in there, don't we, or no?
We do, yeah. I can't get around it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, no biggie. No.
Yeah, Professor. Or no, David Cox. Jared Goff cannot be signed to more than $25 million. He can make elite throws, but can't do things with his feet. Sign Amon-Ra and Sewell first. Bonus. The season starts and ends with Chiefs Lions.
Yeah, I don't. I kind of want to see Lamar do it. Like, I would love to see the Lions there, and I like their chances against the Chiefs better. But I kind of want to see Lamar do it for all the shit he's taken. The $25 million. I mean, that's the problem, right? Is how much do you? He is slow. He's slower than most of us.
How much shit's Lamar been taking though? That was like his first playoff win in a long ass time.
I know. I just going back to that he should play a receiver. It's like there were some prominent media members that fell into the black quarterback thing that drove me nuts.
Terrible question.
Yeah, no. I will read the next one. Just give you 1 second to get yourself together. It's actually cruel that I'm sitting here having we're having you read. It's like anyway.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you're doing a nice job. From Eric Larson. I haven't experienced anxiety and fear this Lions postseason. Nothing seems real. Like I'm having a simulation. Now it feels real. Sunday will be tough or rough. Bonus. Huge MSU road win. This team shows it can close a game and grind out a win in hostile conditions, slowly rounding into shape. I think there are a lot of people who are having surreal feelings about the Lions. Everything is good. Everything is great. And I do wonder for like the MSU fan who experienced the Michigan national championship. Does this just help you forget about that? And in some ways, to the Michigan fan, who's also a Lions fan, is this a bonus or is this like this just washed over? Nobody's talking about Michigan football. Like in a bad Lions season, in a normal year, the Michigan football thing would continue to linger as like a big deal. And I know we move on to next year quickly, but the Lions, they always overtake everything. And the only thing bigger in this state than Michigan football is the Lions and maybe the Tigers. But to have that happen right away the way it has, I wonder what the feeling is for people who are MSU fans and Lions fans and Michigan fans and Lions fans about that.
Matt Venny next. The Cowboys will move up in the draft to take J.J. McCarthy and usher in a whole new level of insufferable. Bonus. The NFL season will end the same way it began, with the Lions beating the Chiefs in a close one.
Well, people would sign up for that. Certainly would. I mean, I don't even know what this show would sound like, what people would sound like, what this state would sound like if the Lions won a Super Bowl. It would be, and that is where you would need Brad Holmes not to be a fan and to be the GM, because most fans would just like back up the Brinks truck and just give it to Goff at that point and say, take the franchise, do whatever, doesn't matter. And that's what you need in reason. It would be.
But they haven't done it yet. They could have extended his contract, right? I mean, so they want to be smart.
I trust him. And I also, I know Goff, I trust Goff to not make this contentious and to also have some self-awareness. I mean, if you're Goff, you know you're not one of the top seven dudes. And to me, the NFL has to get over itself with this. I mean, Deshaun Watson contract be damned, but the NFL has to get over itself and the idea that, the next quarterback who gets paid just gets the most or gets up. Like there are tiers, and nobody outside of maybe the top 7 or 6 or wherever you want to draw that line should get paid into that tier, even if they're paid after. You're not that guy. You're a really good quarterback, but that next tier then should get paid like that next tier, and that's where I don't understand why the NFL can't get that right from a business sense.
Fart soup. Number 1, in 9 months, the Rube will announce his firstborn child. Go shit. Lions. Right. 2, on future trips to Mexico, Jason will be referred to as Mexi Rube and begin a Mexican beach cult.
I would.
It's possible.
Yeah, I would love to see like people just start becoming followers of the Rube down there. Yeah. No, that would.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, just probably be in middle of March Madness in that next trip.
Beppe Plum next. Jason convincing me to give the Lions a shot. Thanks. It's hard to believe after all these years. And bonus. Graham convincing me to eat more donuts. I should have stuck with bagels. I only eat one bagel.
That is the downside. I mean, donuts are better for you in the sense that they're fewer calories, but it is sometimes hard to stop, especially with groovy donuts because they're so damn good. That is one side. I usually do just have one bagel. You can do what my wife and I do, and we cut up the donuts. We get 6 donuts, and we cut them. We use a knife, and we eat them little squares, so we get a little of each 6, and that it's a good way to eat something over time if you can find that level of discipline. That said, I was talking to Andrew Gauthier about this yesterday. Like, when his wife Monica is away, he will get a pizza And it'll last the whole time, like 3-4 days, and I'll eat it with different meals. If you give me a pizza, it's gone. It does, like I have to order the pizza on the size I want to eat because I'm going to eat the entire pizza. There's no limiting like that. I'm like that part of a rat's brain they take out when they want a rat to explode after he eats. That would be me with pizza. If you just kept feeding me pizza, I would eat it until I exploded. I don't. Can you eat like half a pizza and put the other half in the fridge?
Yes.
Okay.
I cannot eat a whole pizza anymore, no matter what the level of THC in my body.
That's why I know on the front end I have to make quality decisions.
Max Spade next. MSU needs to run their pick and roll with Malik Hall and Cohen Carr, not a big. Let the bigs crash the boards on cleanup. Bonus. When the Tom and Stephen Izzo movie is made, Robert Downey Jr. plays Tom. Timothy Chamlet plays Steve. Who plays Graham?
Chalamet, right? Yeah.
Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith
Plays you, yeah.
Let me look that up.
Google,
I don't.
Google
Yeah,
that
hold on.
shit.
Give me some Hoff real
All
quick.
right, here we go.
I don't hate it.
I would.
I mean, I've had worse because
He looks like an AI picture, though. Doesn't look normal.
well, you know, he's definitely awkward. Hold on, let me.
Sorry, that's offensive to you. I'm not saying he's like a dead ringer for you. That's what I meant to say.
no, but see, the guy I'm always worried about is like, is it? Hold on one sec. Is it? Oh shit! What? Son of a bitch! Give me some Hoff. Now I'm mad at IMDb for not having this correctly. God, that really pisses me off.
Come on.
Oh, it's Brian Posen. That's the guy I worry that would play me. You know, from like 5-year engagement.
Brian
Posehn.
Posehn, yeah.
Yeah.
The comedian guy?
Yeah.
No, that doesn't even look close to what come on.
I could get
Who
there.
told you that?
Food-wise. I've had somebody tell me that
you
before.
could get as
It was-
fat as he is, but I'm saying, like, you guys don't look anything.
It's not a flattering comment. Yeah.
No.
It
Who
was
said
rough.
that to you?
Somebody used to be a friend.
Oh, man.
Yeah, rough.
Pigskin Scoop next. Number 1, Seth Davis is full of shit. Izzo will have a successor in place before retirement. 2, Lions win the Super Bowl and Dan Campbell retires. Bonus. People need to stop complaining about a cold January. It was 50 in December. Relax.
And it's gonna be 40 this week. It's all right. It was a rough stretch, but it was not fun. It was okay.
Still sucks.
Yeah. Well, you went to Mexico, so you're good.
Well, no, yeah.
I don't know. You know, I saw the Seth Davis segment, and I think Izzo will try to do that, but there isn't an obvious one, and I also don't think Alan Haller will be somebody who's, if he's still the AD at the time, who's just willing to, you know, obviously let Izzo completely control that. He'll have some say because Izzo deserves to. So I'll be very curious to see how that plays out, and maybe by then it'll be a little more obvious, and there will be a plan. It'll obviously be people can always say the football coach is everything, but that hire will be so massive because MSU basketball is in the place it is right now entirely because of Tom Izzo.
Lucas next. Fuck the Niners. Please do this, Goff. Bonus. My daughter is 8 months old and may grow up with the Lions being good. Crazy.
I don't know if I'm happy for children or not if they get to grow up with that. Like I do feel like there ought to be a little bit of pain that comes with it.
You can't be that asshole though. That's what like my dad always wanted me to suffer and do, like, because he had to like mop a blacktop when he was 18. So he wanted me to, you know what I mean? That's not what you want for people you love.
You want the next generation to have it better.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
I want Gavin I want all of these young people to enjoy this shit.
Yeah.
For years to come.
No, it's true. And it's probably good for I worry about this with the Pistons and even the Tigers. Like if you're bad long enough, kids of a certain age will not be fans of yours. Like the reason
bad. The Pistons are bad.
Right, but they haven't been relevant in a long time. Like that's the scary part. And they've at least now got some young players and they're better off now than they were 7-8 years ago in that sense. Like I look at the Pistons, and you and I have talked about this, of the era of the bad boys when we were 10 years old, 9 years old, and how that shaped our fandom at a certain age and creates a lifelong affinity for something, or at least gives that a chance. And you know, the Tigers I'm amazed that I care at all about the Tigers because the Tigers were, I remember Cecil Fielder's year when I was 10 and all that, but from age 13 through 25, they were complete shit. Didn't have over 500 season. And that made 2006 pretty sweet. But I certainly, as much as I've enjoyed the Tigers at times, I think it messed with my ability to be a passionate fan for them. I do, because for a long time I watched them. I remember in 2000 being in Chicago the summer I drove a truck, and another story we're telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company. But living in an apartment and watching on ESPN the Tigers being 4 or 4.5 games out in August of the wild card hunt. And like, wow, that's a really big deal. The problem was they still had like Bobby Higginson batting cleanup. They weren't going anywhere. But that was what used to be a big deal for a brief moment in time. And but I do think this will help people be Lions fans for life. And if you're an MSU fan, you want this. And I'll tell you why. Michigan football and the massive fan base they have. Many, people who don't have any affiliation from Michigan or aren't anywhere near Ann Arbor or just chose them at some point, going back 50 years. A lot of it stems from bad Lions football, bad MSU football. Michigan was the winning football team in the state, and people gravitated toward them. If you're an MSU football fan, you want the Lions to be good because it means fewer Michigan fans.
Ken Chu next. A team consisting of 2 Grand Rapids anglers won a bass fishing national championship for Adrian College. And bonus, the analytics chart is ass.
Congrats to the anglers. I have big problems with the football analytics chart. Big problems. And it's not just that I'm some old curmudgeon who doesn't like analytics. I think the analytics are lazy. I think the analytics are old. I think the analytics are outdated. That you get to a 2-point conversion situation, and not just because I had a live line of the Bucks plus 7.5 or anything like that, but like you need to know not what's the NFL average in this situation. Who the fuck cares about that? Especially late in the playoffs, you need to know your team's average in that situation, your team's average with your current quarterback, with the dynamics you have on defense, the momentum of the game on the road and hostile environments. It needs to be much more detailed, much more pinpointed to you. And maybe there's not enough data over time, but who cares what a team with a different quarterback in a different situation? Those are flawed analytics. Those are as bad as any old school numbers. That is ridiculous. If those are the numbers you're using, then fuck off. All right, sorry.
Well, usually when they use analytics, I usually just go, yeah, whatever you say, because I can't really defend it. But going for 2 in that situation, it's just weird. But
yeah, I mean, I would get it to 7 because I think it also hurt them momentum wise. Like they get this big moment, and then there's an exhale, and that building. And obviously, if they got the 2-point conversion, things would have got tense. But I believe things would have been more tense in that building if they had gotten to 7 than 8, because at that point, as a Lions fan, you're able to say, well, worst case scenario, this is overtime. Worst case scenario.
Lose. That's what I told T when I looked over at her. I was like, you know what? We're up 8. I'm glad they went for 2.
You got to understand the dynamics of Lions fans and the panic that would come into that place if things got tight, and the idea that 7 is better than 8 and much better than 8, and that's not on your analytics chart. I guarantee you no freaking person who put together analytics had actually thought about that, and that's why the analytics also should come with a component of feel, of moment, and maybe put somebody like me on the sidelines to explain that shit to you.
Jarrett next. Illinois will only lose 1 more game until the second round of the NCAA tourney.
So Terrence Shannon is back. He won his injunction. So Michigan State will likely face him. They did not face him last time. I had 16 points, 27 minutes. His injunction over, being kicked off the team as he faces a sexual assault charge in Kansas. And, from what I've seen of the case, and I have no idea what exactly happened, I understand why there are some questions about things. And I do think it sucks that people lose if they didn't do what's accused, that they lose this time that they have in college, even though I think he's been around a long time or whatever, and this eligibility that's a clock that's ticking. My idea for this would not be to bring him back. That is a serious charge you're dealing with. Deal with that. I understand the wheels of justice move slowly, but my idea would be pause your eligibility clock and allow somebody to come back next year, no matter what, if they were innocent of the crime or not guilty, because that would seem to me to be fair and also less distracting. And then you wouldn't have weird situations where you had a standing ovation for a guy who comes back who fans don't have any idea if he did something really wrong or if he's being, targeted or if what he did wasn't that wrong at all. But standing ovation in that situation just feels freaking weird. And I get that, if you're a fan base, try to avoid that. And I don't think right now MSU fans would give Miles Bridges a standing ovation.
Right.
I don't know if you would have. That to me is just weird. And I understand there's a real sense among the Illini fan base that Terrence Shannon didn't do anything wrong. But certainly if he's on that team, that's a really, really good team. But also a team as Brad Underwood, we know, can get upset in the second round of the tourney.
Richard Kane next. Indiana State basketball is excellent, but they'll be upset in the Missouri Valley tourney, probably by Drake, which wouldn't be much of an upset. And the committee will refuse to give MVC to bids instead of favoring a 9th place 18 and 15 SEC team, thereby relegating Indiana State to the NIT.
That would be bullshit. And they need to be careful about that. And here's why. Because it is hard to build something at a place like Indiana State anymore in the NIL transfer portal era. So you're going to get these seasons that exist that are really great and really special. Because it's hard to build something, over time, I think the fan bases at places in those schools are going to dwindle. I think they're going to become less invested. I do. And I think that's bad for the sport overall because it's the collective fan bases of all these schools getting together and caring. And with their dream being alive, they watch the NCAA tournament even if their teams won 10 games all season. If they care less, the eyeballs will be less. It'll hurt the sport overall. And in moments where they do have the special year, if the committee doesn't understand how good they are because they don't understand how to judge real basketball and road games in any league, especially a good mid-major league, and I fucking A, man. I'm sorry. That's the stuff that'll even hurt the sport even more. People in Indiana State may just check out completely and say, fuck it, we're done. And I'm not saying it'll happen that quickly, but that is just one more way. Man, I'll get so pissed. I'll write I don't even think about it. I'm getting pissed just thinking about this, Richard.
MZA next. I've seen enough. MSU basketball is at least going to the Sweet 16. And bonus. Lions to the Super Bowl. Fuck Purdy. Also, refs were way too lenient in that game.
Way too lenient? I don't know. I didn't sense that. They won the game, so I've moved on from any calls. I don't think the Lions have gotten obviously what happened to Dallas is bad, but I don't think the Lions have gotten bad calls. And maybe it was both ways. MSU basketball, if I had to pick right now, too, I would say they're a Sweet 16 team. I do. Like a 6 seed, a Sweet 16 team. Maybe beyond that, we'll see. But if you told me you have to put, on like a roulette number and color, like one square, and you have to be right for all your money, I would say 6 seed, Sweet 16.
John Crager next. Number 1, this MSU basketball team will make it to the Elite 8 at a minimum. 2, Frozen 4 or bust for the MSU hockey team. And bonus, shut down Christian McCaffrey and make Brock Purdy uncomfortable, and the Lions will win by a field goal.
That's a lot easier said than done. But, yeah, I mean.
Can we make Purdy uncomfortable?
I mean, and the other thing is shutting down it's not Connor McCaffrey, right? It's Christian McCaffrey, yeah.
His dad's Ed.
Yeah, he's thinking of the Iowa Hawkeyes is what he's thinking of, the basketball. But yeah, if you shut down McCaffrey, and you know what, I have a sense he might have just written in McCaffrey and Purdy, and I put the first name. That might be an editing mistake. Now that I think about it, because I didn't want you to read it wrong, and now we just put the wrong name in there.
Connor Stallions.
Yeah, yeah. But San Francisco's tough. I just have a bad feeling about this game.
What's the bad feeling? I mean, we're in the NFC Championship. I mean, I obviously want the Lions to win. I just don't have any. You're talking gambling wise?
No, not even that. Like and at this point, it's right. It's all cake, right? At this point, it's house money, so to speak. I mean,
do you think the Packers are a better team than the Lions by that far?
Yes, a little bit. Well,
shit.
I do think this is a game where. If I had to pick a score right now, I would say something like 31-17 in that realm. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Benjen. Same old Lions is dead. Stabbed in the chest. I had a cold, indifferent heart towards these Lions my whole 48-year life. Openly mocked their true believer fans. I'm so happy for Jason, but all of those decades of hell prevented any fandom from forming. Bonus. Graham, is it too late to become a true fan?
No, a true fan is something you have to feel, and that's when I question that. It's always because I don't know if it's something. If you grow up around here, or you have an affinity for the Lions, or any sort of connection, and all of a sudden you start to feel something. That's true fandom. Doesn't mean you're a long-term fan. It's people who decide to become a fan that I don't believe in. And that's a lot of Premier League people, and that's adults who then choose to become, I mean, if you're a 30-year-old and you're like, wow, Michigan football is good, I'm going to root for them. That's kind of not real, right? You can't decide to become a fan. It has to be something you feel inside. And so if you're feeling something inside, it's never too late to become a true fan. It's just got to be real.
Kurt Wisniewski. Number 1, Jared Goff has embraced Detroit. Pay the man his money. Hashtag Lions will. 2, Jonathan Smith has recruited and transferred winners into the program. MSU football will beat Michigan October 26th, 27-24. And bonus, there's no better combo than a cake donut with vanilla ice cream with Sanders fudge.
Groovy donuts, man. Get on that. Yeah, no. Yeah. The MSU football against Michigan next year, I do think, is a game that is not a given that Michigan wins. Partly because I think Michigan State has a chance to be a competitive team, but also I mean I do think Michigan will take a little bit of a step back, Harbaugh or not. They lose a lot of really good players. Doesn't mean the program's going away. I'm just saying, like, next year's team, I do not think will be this year's team, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that game will be that game will be at the Big House, but that hasn't hurt Michigan State in a while. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Michigan football is next year, and where Michigan State is. If I go through the schedule right now and I look at games they have no chance to win, Michigan State, or at least from this perspective or this time, think they have no chance to win. That isn't one of them. It's probably unlikely, but it's not one of the games I think they have no chance to win.
Bo McJunkins next. Graham, your guy Solari takes unnecessary shit. He does a good job, and he has a heart of gold, but help our guy out being his own worst enemy. Stephen Izzo scores, and Chris wants to drop a tweet about his career 10% field goal percentage. Read the room, Christopher. Bonus. Patrick Mahomes has become a crying little bitch, and I'm tired of seeing it every game. One of the best players on the planet. Don't be a wuss crying to the refs after every play that doesn't go your way.
Well done getting through that. Well, no, a couple things that happened. I know the Solari tweet you're thinking about. And he wasn't reading it that way, but because some people don't like him, they read it as a negative tweet. He's sort of pointing out, like, this is, amazing. This guy's only, and he also, I think, was trying to tweet multiple things, and the timing of when Izzo walked in the press conference kept him from tweeting for a minute on that and going back to it. And so I think, no, I'm just saying, because I saw the things coming in, and Chris is like, shit. Chris did not mean any malice by it. He's like, and he just didn't. He didn't. And he never does. And so I think people just love to shit on him. He's a good reporter, and nobody ever shits on the people who, only pump up MSU even when things aren't great, or, I mean, like, he's an objective reporter, and I think that is valuable. And if people want to shit on objectivity, then that's fine. But it's and sometimes because there are people who aren't in that space who become beloved, it's harder for somebody like Chris. And look, Chris walks into it sometimes. No doubt he does. Just like I poke the bear with takes, he walks into it with things that I know, his objectivity is almost overdone. But you're right, Bo, and I appreciate that. Does have a heart of gold, and takes a lot of unnecessary shit, and but occasionally does tweet something. Chris, I can see why people jumped on you.
By the way, on his Mahomes thing, why not keep doing it? The Chiefs get calls.
They do get calls.
I would keep bitching too.
But you want to be likable. I argue this, though. You want to be likable,
yeah.
and I think he still is. I think that Chiefs team still is. The NFL certainly loves having.
Well, as long as you can look up into that that box up there with Taylor Swift and his brother. And
well, yeah, I mean, Jason Kelsey now, it's amazing. He's coming out shirt off with beers, and I mean, what a great show that is. It's kind of it's pretty awesome, actually.
G.E. Miller next. 49ers are a better matchup for the Lions than the Packers. Jordan Love is the kind of QB Lions can't stop. Purdy is not. Lions to the Super Bowl for the right to be rolled by Lamar again. Bonus. Harbaugh seems to be following the script of another narcissist cult leader. Play-by-play, seeking immunity is totally an innocent move. You better hope your charming personality shines through in those NFL interviews, Jimmy.
I'm still very curious to see if he winds up anywhere, and if it's San Diego or I don't know. The longer it goes, the more likely he's back, right? I mean, I don't know.
Or is he talking to his family about it, right? I guess his kids love where they're at. That has to be a factor.
Sure, and it should. I would go if I were him, only because it's just hard. You're just never going to repeat that. The other thing, though, the flip side of that is I've always thought as a coach, one of my favorite years would be the year after you win a title, because there are very few years when you can really do nothing wrong in the sense that you're like, I mean, Michigan fans will be okay with 9-3 next year. They'll deal with a loss to Ohio State. They just won a national title. They've had enough ownership of the Ohio State rivalry the last 3 years that they can withstand a loss. And Ohio State is loading up right now, and that looks like a good pick to have a chance to win a national title if the QB play is there. But I mean, the part of that would be, maybe you leave after next year. I don't know. I would. If I were him, I'd still be inclined to leave just because you've kind of done what you set out to do, and they're, but you got to get a job with a quarterback. That's the other thing. Like, I wouldn't want to go someplace that didn't have the quarterback or didn't have an opportunity to draft one right away.
Corey Ostrom next. Number 1, Booker can and should be like Dawson Garcia, a center that has athleticism, can pick and pop, and can put the ball on the floor. He's a potential mismatch for the future we need to see more of very soon, regardless of matchups. 2, Jaden Akins has more to give on the offensive end. His ceiling is too high. While he's gotten better for sure, there's more he can do for this team to reach their goals.
Yeah, I mean, Dawson Garcia is a really nice player, and Booker has some potential there. Booker's a better shooter. They're different, but yeah, look, Booker has skills and gifts that a lot of people don't, and if he's, what you got to be is somebody and I think he'll stick at Michigan State, but I'm just saying you have to be somebody who's patient and works at it, because you have advantages that others don't. You can still become an incredible player. You can be an NBA player because his game, his skill set, I should say, is built for the NBA. A 6'11" dude who can shoot threes and is athletic and is like but you got to be able to move. You got to have a motor. You got to be, you can't be a minus player defensively. And so there are things he's still got to work on.
Some dude next, number 1, just trying to help Graham out. We never called a guy a garbage player. We called him a garbage man. So much more of a respectable and honorable title. 2, when MSU makes the Final Four this year, we will look back at Stephen Izzo's 3-point scoring spree as the turning point. And bonus, the Lions are in the window, and it should be 3 to 5 years minimum. Goff is 29 years old. The best play is to try to get Goff this offseason on a 2 to 3 year extension at about $50 a year. Or just let it ride and franchise him. Players don't like it, but he'll get paid, and the team won't be hosed long term.
Okay, so if you're Jared Goff, and you can do 3 years, $50 million, or you can do a longer term deal.
You mean 3 years at $50 million?
Yeah. Would you do it, or would you want a longer term deal at less money? Or 2 or 3 at 50 or longer?
That's up to Goff's age. And if I'm Goff, I'm just happy that people want me here, right? Yeah. I guess 3 years, $50 million per 150. I mean,
it's one of the trickier things because you are going to run into some guys who have to get paid soon, but don't yet necessarily. Like, he's the guy who's got to get, and so,
in Brad Holmes we trust.
Yep. You got to figure all that out.
I got to say, I don't feel that worried about it with Brad Holmes.
No, you feel better than you would with any other person running the show, and you sort of trust that they see what's coming down the pike and how they need to navigate it and all of that stuff. And I think that's a big part of that. Stephen Izzo 3-point scoring spree is the turning point, or at least his 3-point bucket. It was a great moment. It was a lot of fun, and I certainly don't think it. One thing Izzo said, and this is the one thing that has some lasting oomph to it, I think, is that it's a team that likes each other, but is it truly a bonded group? I don't know. And that was one of those moments that galvanizes groups. They like each other, they like being around each other. They get a shared experience that they all appreciate, and I think you can't have too many of those.
816 Boys Reunion next. Aerosol air fresheners are worthless after a load is dropped. A load. They just make things worse. A courtesy flush does way more good than spray cans could ever do.
You're a big courtesy
That's
flush
the tweet
fan.
of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
what about people that light a match?
well, that's
It smells
helpful
like
too.
a turd lit on fire. Though.
Nah, I think
Yeah.
that match is good. What you really want also is you got a fan in there,
Yes.
and then also you also want some sort of plug-in thing like that's got a really good scent naturally, because that helps to. You get a fan in that, it usually helps to overtake it pretty quickly.
Just courtesy flush.
Yeah, that
It's
helps
easy.
too.
Hans Jurgen. Connor Cook never got all the love that Aiden Childs is getting without even playing one game for the green and white. Bonus. Dear MSU media, you can tell us before the season starts in football or basketball that our team is average or bad. We will still watch. Don't sell us a bunch of horse shit. Horse shit.
I was wondering if you're going to make it.
Brutal.
We're almost there.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, we don't try to sell you horse shit. I mean, there are years where I've thought they won't be that good, and I think I've said it. There are years where I've been wrong. I've never lied in terms of what I actually thought. I don't.
But prior to the 23 season, we were both like, we just don't know.
Yeah,
What this team's going to be.
we weren't over it. And if there are, again, there are people who are, extensions of the team, and you're going to get a different spiel on that. But I certainly don't. I try not to do it. And if I overshoot, then apologies to the Connor Cook versus Aiden Childs. I do think that Twitter and the social media era has a lot to do with that. It's not the real. What you're seeing is not 100% real. It's real on social media, which is where Aiden Childs and his family live to some extent in terms of their understanding. So it's not that it's not real there, but it's a smaller group of people than you realize. It's really not the platform you think it is. But Connor Cook existed at MSU from 2011 to 15. And Twitter was beginning, it wasn't quite the thing when he first arrived, and he also was somebody it took a while to warm up to and know he was going to be the guy, and he was not viewed at coming in the same way. So, but you're right. It's just there are reasons for it.
You want to do Jake's? I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Okay,
those.
I'll do Jake, and you can do Upper Deck Jerk Guy. All right, Jake Hawkins. Man, that second half against Maryland was brutal for MSU. Not only did it feel like they took their foot off the gas after that 15-0 run in the first half, but it felt like they set in cruise control too early. Hopefully they show the same resilience Friday at Wisconsin. Number 2, last week was the first playoff game in Ford Field history, the first playoff win in 30 years, and yesterday's Lions win again. But yet NBC didn't do any reports or stories, damn it, on the guy who sings Forward Down the Field, which he's done for 25-plus years. More than that, really. I mean, I remember going as a kid. Come on now. Bonus. What was Seth Davis thinking comparing Tom Izzo to 104-year-old Sister Jean of Loyola, Chicago? Get real. As much as we all love and appreciate Tom Izzo, can we really see him coaching until he's 100, let alone into his 80s and 90s? Couple things, Jake. One, I don't think it was literal. The idea that it's the idea that Tom Izzo will die coaching, that this is what he does, that this is who he is. I do think he enjoys being Tom Izzo. I think if his health is there and he's still got the steam, he'll keep doing it for a little while. I do think he's somebody who, more than maybe people recognize, will recognize when he loses the steam and doesn't want to let it slip. He put too much into it. It's not he really wants this program to continue after him. He really wants to get another one. But so that's what he meant, that he's in this for a while more as he feels. I don't think it was literal. And I would love to know more about the Forward Down the Field guy. I don't know why that.
What else is there to know?
Well,
He sings the song for the past.
what else does he sing? Is he like a Hoff? Could he be our guy? I don't know. All right, one more.
All right, Upper Deck Jerk Guy, finally here. Number 1, donuts with filling are better than cake donuts. 2, the world is not ready for Detroit fans with a successful team. And 3, I'm ready to be hurt again because I think Jonathan Smith can get us back to Pete D'Antonio and more.
If you're starting to think that way, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you are ready to be hurt again, and maybe the Lions being good has allowed people to get there. And to each their own on the donuts. I certainly am not against donuts with filling. There's no question about that. We appreciate all of you sticking with us last week when Jason did his ill-timed Mexico trip and producing our show as we come back with your hot takes. We appreciate Muskox. Go to gomuskox.com. Again, the promo code HOFF, HOFF, for $15 off. You can look your best version of yourself. I was going to say as good as me, but that should not be what you aspire to and feel the comfort and warmth that you want to this January and February. We also appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Go to midtownbrewing.net. Just swing on by 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing anytime. Great, cozy vibe, terrific menu, good character place, great place to take a date or anything. We'll be back middle of the week. We'll talk Harry. We'll see if Jason's still alive. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Rube.